up, YouTube? My name is Lexi. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to or welcome back. It has been a long time since I've actually sat down to record. I hope that you've been doing well, okay? The 2025 has just been a very interesting year, but we're almost at the end. Q4, let's bang it out all together. So, just to take a break from all of the craziness that's happening in the world, I figured let me just pop on here and talk about Love is Blind. Love is Blind has been terrorizing our TV screens for 9 seasons long now, and I said last season that I wasn't going to watch, but I'm here, and now at this point, because I'm here, I have a lot of thoughts and I have a lot of things to say. So I'm going to give you my video, but first, if you like my vibe, do subscribe. Now, without further ado, go grab your snack, grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab whatever's going to make you comfortable as you were listening to me, because we're going to be here for a little while, because I have a lot of thoughts to get off of my chest. Before I even get into the summary of the episodes or anything else like that, I have 3 main gripes, and they're all in different facets with production. So I need production to come to the front of the class, okay? First things first, let us talk about the elephant in the room. Let us talk about the casting of Edmund.
Eat my boogers. Might be a little too much, but I do eat them.
I have a problem with Love is Blind exploiting this man, because it is clear that he is suffering from a little bit of arrested development. I don't want to put certain things on this individual, because as we hear his story, like, we are hearing more amazing parts about him. However, this is marriage. And I really have to watch this show through the lens of nobody here is serious about the sacrament of matrimony. Like, they might have been in season 1, season 2, but after 3 and going forward, we have lost the plot. We have, no. I'll give them up to 4. Up to 4, after 5 or whatever, they clearly were just here for the plot, for the chaos, for whatever. But even in the spirit of chaos, the black couple that we are choosing is a man that is or might be suffering from a bit of special needs, and now we have a black woman who is basically attached to this person, and I am thoroughly disgusted. I also want to talk about the fact that we do not have therapists on this show, and I don't know why. Like, I know that has been a reoccurring conversation. Like, I know that Love is Blind has seen the comments, and these people need therapists. Think about it. Like, you're meeting somebody from, you don't know, from a hole in the wall. They're just over here talking about, I'm here for marriage or whatever. 10 days is not going to sit down here and explain to me every little, nook and cranny, every bit of your story. Is not enough time. It's like, there's no way that I'm going to know every single thing about you or whatever in 10 days of knowing you. And on top of that 10 days, you're still very much so getting to know the person's representative. Nobody is showing their ass on the first 10 days of knowing them. And we need therapists, people, so that we could have people work through some of their traumas that doesn't involve their partner. We need people who's going to be there to work through some of their insecurities that doesn't involve the other person being projected onto. I don't understand why this is not a thing on Love is Blind in terms of production. Lastly, I want to talk about the editing. This season, I don't know about y'all, but it has been very odd following some of these storylines. And what it's giving to me is, like, even in episode 1. It's episode 1, we're seeing montages of people's relationship. When did all this stuff happen? What is going on? Why are people just being dropped into conversations? The first time that we're seeing people, like, for example, I think the first time that we saw Madison on screen was like, in a conversation with somebody. She was down here in pajamas and slippers. That's not how that goes for the first episode. That means you've been talking. What are you guys leaving on the table that we're not actually seeing as viewers, that you guys are being able to create somewhat of a storyline for these people? I don't like it. We don't get full stories, and I'm just like, given the history of what's going on this show, given the history of how things have been sliced and diced, how things are, given the history of the lawsuits that have been coming across or whatever, like, it just feels icky already. It just feels like there were some red flags that possibly were shown in those clips that were edited out, and we're not going to air those problematic things so that we could be under more hot water. That's what it's giving to me. So I really am not happy with the editing. I'm not happy with the casting, and I'm not happy with the lack of a therapist on site so that these people could get some help as they're going through the process. Now that I got all that off my chest, let's get right on into the episodes. Episode 1. So by now we already know the spiel. The Lachey's come in, they introduce themselves, and they, giving us the spiel of how Love is Blind works and whatnot. So we're meeting a few of the cast members. So far, I think they introduced us to Jordan. He's the father of a 5-year-old, and we later on find out that his name is Luca. Then we meet Madison. Madison reveals that she's actually having a deteriorating eye problem. So technically, later on down the line, there's a possibility that she might end up actually being blind.
And there's a good chance that I'm gonna go blind. This experiment is so much more to me because it simulates what my life could be like when I do lose my vision.
Now, when I heard that, I was very concerned. I'm just like, I think that that's beautiful of the show for showing or not being exclusatory of her for her situation. However, I'm also a bit concerned because I'm just like, you're putting a lot of stock in somebody that you just met 10 days ago, and not everybody is going to get a Lauren and Cameron situation. In the event that she actually does go blind, her partner would therefore be taking care of all of her assets, all of her essentials, all of her everything, and I just feel like that's a lot of trust to place in somebody that you just met 10 days ago. So personally, for me, I'm like, that is a huge gamble, but I really hope that it works out for her. I really do, because that... Next, we meet this character, Megan. Her friends call her Sparkle Megan. Sparkle Megan sounds crazy. So Miss Sparkle, she basically is talking about, how men are intimidated of her, how men are intimidated by the car that she drives, the house that she lives in, the money that she makes, etc., etc. I could kind of see that, but another part of me is also just like, you're bigging up yourself a lot. Let's get to know you, and let's see if you actually are a kind person or a good person. Let's see what your personality gives, and let's see if there's any other reasons as to why maybe love hasn't been working out for the best for you, So let's figure out if your personality is just as sparkly as all the things that you like to have in your life. So basically the pods are open, and now we're actually getting to see the interactions. So the first person that we sit down with is Casey. Casey is talking about how she was dating her high school boyfriend for 10 years or so, on and off, and they called it off. So then she started going on dating apps and stuff like that, but now she wants to embark in marriage. I'm like, okay, sure. Then she starts to sit down and talk, and she's just like, I've never not been cheated on. Flag on a play, red flag. What are you talking about? If you've never not been cheated on, I think that that's very traumatic, and I'm very apologetic to hear that kind of story. But I'm also just like, perhaps therapy would be needed then, if that's the case. You don't just go from, a person betraying you. You don't go from betrayal, and don't harbor on to some of that resentment or whatever. And some of that might also contribute to the reasons why you're doing certain things. So I'm just like, girl, I don't know, you might need a little bit of therapy. Perhaps you should get therapy and not be a Love is Blind. But we're just watching this for the plot at this moment in time. As she continues to speak, she is giving insecure. She's saying that, she would look on their social media profiles, and the guy would always be following another blonde, somebody else, and it would make her feel it'll make her feel bad about herself. And it's understandable, but it's also just like, girl, perhaps you should take a break from the dating scene and just go ahead and get a little bit of therapy until you actually feel good about yourself or feel good in your own body. Coupling that up, coupling your insecurity up with a partner is just going to be a messy situation. So that's my initial thoughts on Miss Casey. She goes in to her pod date with Patrick. Patrick is a construction manager, and Patrick is Asian. Being that Patrick is in a predominantly white state, he is saying and he is expressing that, usually he's the only Asian in the friend group. He's the only Asian doing this, only Asian doing that. So he's just, he just feels like the lone wolf, it sounds like. So that's what we're hearing from Patrick so far. Patrick was on his pod dates with Casey, and basically they're sitting down here bonding over the fact that they like to travel. Casey mentions that she has a sister, and she's performs, so she sings out in Korea. She grew up Mormon. Her father did his Mormon mission down in Korea as well, but she's never been to Korea herself. Patrick hears this information, and it's like he's a little bit hesitant to say, hey, I'm of Asian heritage or whatever. So now from there, he moves on to his next date with Anna. I have to get her name straight because there's Anna and Annie. But he moves on to a date with Anna. And Anna is also Asian, but they don't know that. She's from New York, because you know how we do in New York, okay? So, because I'm like, you could always just tell like another New Yorker or whatever. They actually get into talks about, you know, your dating history and who you've dated previously. They both have only dated white people. Like, they've never actually dated mutual like Asian people. They admit that there's a lack of diversity. They are, as they talk, like they're hearing a lot of similarities, so they, you know, they reference the Spider-Man meme, so then they start to kind of pique their interest or whatever. At least Patrick seems like his interests are being piqued. So I'm just like, okay, this is cute. So we find out that they're both children of immigrants. We find out that they both speak more than one language. We find out that they both don't have middle names. However, Patrick, because he was adopted, he took on his father's, well, his birth father, like he keeps that name, but he made that his middle name and then took on the last name of his adopted father. Anna's explaining to us that her family has been, you know, secretly hoping that she would eventually bring home an Asian man, but as time has gone on, Anna has not brought home an Asian man, has not brought home a Chinese man, so they are pretty much giving up on that dream. So at that point with these two, I'm just like, okay, so is it a matter of, does, like I don't know, a preference for somebody who's not you, like, my question was more so like, does Anna just have like a preference? Like, is she just like I don't ever want to date an Asian person? Because Patrick had said that he's open to all ethnicities, but she didn't really give I'm interested as well in another Asian man. Like, I don't know if it's a preference thing for her just yet, so you know, we'll see how it goes. Anna's next date is with a guy named Blake. Blake is 32. And I think Anna is also 27. I forgot to say that. But anyway, they're on their pod date and they're vibing so far. Anna asked him, you know, the necessary questions. But I thought they're necessary questions. But I did think that it was kind of like, anybody could kind of lie about something like that. But she's asking him if he's religious. And he says that no, she's the same. She's not really so religious. She asked him if he's racist or if he's homophobic. He responds that he's not. Like, gosh, no, like that would be embarrassing. And right answers. However, usually when you ask people directly certain things, they're not just gonna come out and be like, yeah, I'm racist. Like, I feel like you just kind of hear how they talk and hear how they're interacting and see how they're moving around in their life, and then you be like, oh, you're racist, okay? Because people would by default just be like, no. So Blake's next date is with Sparkle Megan. I'm going to just be calling her Megan for all intents and purposes because there's no other Megan here. So Megan, okay? So he goes on a date with Megan and she's telling Blake about the oil and gas company that she had and she ended up selling it. So that gives her a lot of flexibility in how to, in the way that she's been able to live her life. These two people have always prioritized their careers. Blake is here because his grandma asked, hey, you know, what's going on with my grandkids? Like, what's going on? Is there somebody in your life? And he's just like, oh, well, if my grandmother's coming in to me about my relationship, I should probably take it seriously. So that's how he ended up here. She's still on the spiel of men are intimidated by her. She has a lot of things going for her and, you know, it hasn't worked out for her. Like, I don't really know what to make of those kind of comments sometimes, because like I said earlier, like sometimes that might make me just be like, are you a good person? Are you looking at superficial things? Are you looking at, you know, somebody's integrity level? Like, what is it that you're actually looking for that you keep on falling into this loop of men that are intimidated by you, you know? So then we meet this guy, Mike. I do not like Mike. I don't like Mike at all. I don't like the cut of his jib, okay? I think that Mike is a douchebag. I think that he is just very pretentious. I think he's very, like, he's very cocky, very, like, you know, very smug. You find out that Mike is also into real estate properties. Like, he basically, like, flips properties all the time. So basically he's saying he's a realtor. He's looking to pour into a partner. He's looking for something more traditional in their roles. He gives this very awful example of, like, what happens, like, if I leave all my dishes hanging around, like, would you be mad? Yeah, okay, like, traditional as I am, or traditional as somebody might want to be, because Meg says that she wants to be traditional as she might want to be, that doesn't mean that she wants to just sit down and volunteer to be your maid and pick up after you all the time, Mike. So I didn't like that example of what he was trying to to paint. I didn't like that photo. I didn't like that image. No, after Meg's date with Mike, she goes on a date with Jordan. Now Jordan seems like a real chill dude. He's 29. He's in transportation logistics. So I think he referred to himself as like a branch manager or something like that. Anyway, these two are talking to each other. Like I said earlier, Jordan is the guy and he has a 5-year-old son. And then Sparkle Megan is over here talking about, you know, she's a Sparkle Megan. She has like, you know, you should see the shoes that I'm wearing right now. It's sparkly all over. She has a bedazzled like the thing that you put over the steering wheel, the bedazzled wheel and whatnot. And he's just like, you know, he's joking around with her, just like, oh, she didn't. She's just like, oh, like, did you bedazzle a Kia? She's like, I don't drive a Kia. He's just like, oh, well, I drive a Kia. And you could kind of like just see the disparity of like what's kind of happening. It's like she's kind of just like, I'm not driving no Kia. And then he tries to guess the kind of car that she has, and she refuses to answer. Long story short, it's giving, you might not be. Like, to me, it's just giving like she's not really taking him as a serious contender. And then he also is just more so acknowledging, he's just like, all right, well, let's talk about our aesthetics. And I love this conversation because I'm just like, this is a very important conversation sometimes, because you don't ever want to go into a situation where you're getting ready to marry somebody or date somebody and you're trying to change that person. Sometimes, like, if your lifestyle or, you know, the things that you're into just aren't compatible, like the whole situation, sometimes it just does not work as much as you might want it to work. And you don't want to feel like you're corrupting somebody or forcing somebody to be something that they are not. So I thought that it was very like interesting for him to just like put it out on Front Street. Our aesthetics doesn't match. How do you feel about that? Like, you know, you're very like sparkly, I'm a t-shirt jean wearing type of dude, I'm real laid back, I'm real chill, and you know, you have certain expectations that come along with you, and rightfully so. Everybody's entitled to what they like, but he's acknowledging that we might not be the perfect match. And I just thought that was great. So I'm just like, all right, Jordan, I like him. I like Jordan. So after that, all the pod squads, they're back in the male quarters and the women's quarters, and they're all just talking about their dates, going over notes, etc., etc. The next set of people that we're introduced to is Ali and Anton. Ali and Anton, they're in the pods and they're talking about their nicknames and how Anton wanted to go into the program with everybody addressing him as Tony and not using his real name. But his friends encouraged him to use his real name because his wife is obviously going to be calling him by that name. She went by Ali because she says that people mispronounce her name all the time. So her real name is Alini. Ali is a 27-year-old nurse. Anton, I believe, is 28. I forgot what he does. But anyway, so they're on this date and they're talking. Anton is pretty much talking about, you know, how he's Russian, and he also expresses that he has family members in Ukraine, and we all know the situation is going on over there, so that's obviously pretty tough to be dealing with. He is also talking about, you know, like the struggles that he's been going through, and just how like life, anything that life has tossed at him, he's been able to overcome it, and he kind of has built himself up to be very like stoic. And I like the question that she asked him. She's just like, you know, like, does that mean that you're not going to share your emotions with me? Does that mean that you're not going to be able to talk to me when you're in need of something? And he said that I will let my walls down. Like, I'll come to you and talk to you about things, like, if I trust you. You know, sometimes he's just already just like, you know, there's not so much that things that you might be able to do, but at least being able to be like a listening ear or somebody to be supportive, somebody that, you know, he loves or whatever, to be supportive, that would be nice. So, you know, these two, they seem like they're going to be pretty copacetic. So now we are officially into Edmund. Edmund is the star of season 9. We are introduced to him doing a torpedo run down the Love is Blind pod hallway. Really excited, lots of energy. Okay. He seems to also be in a connection with a woman named Calabria. Calabria is 27 years old. She's a social worker. Edmund is 28 years old and he's a realtor. These two are in the pods, and like I said, the editing is very odd because it seems like these people have known each other for some time. So, you know, she's going up in the pods and she's on some my man, my man, my man, my man, my man. And to me, I'm just like, girl, if only you knew what was back there, I don't know if you'd be saying what you are saying. So she's excited about, you know, the prospect of having somebody. And my fear with Calabria is explaining, you know, the both of them, they're not really seeking traditional marriages. And she's also basically volunteering that, you know, I have my degrees and I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do that. Like, you know, 50-50. And I'm just like, I hear it. But also, just as a person, like, I don't know, a small part of me is just like, this is giving very, like, hyper independent. And sometimes that could be a bit of a trauma response. Like, just feeling like it's only you, like it's you against the world, like there's nobody else to really like help you or whatever, like this hyper of independence, like it's like I feel like that kind of stems from like a fear of abandonment a bit. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but it's just like things you just kind of pick up as you are engaging with people and moving throughout the world. But I feel like people who kind of have like abandonment issues and stuff like that, you just become super hyper independent sometimes, and I don't know sometimes how that interacts with somebody. And I think coupled on top of her possibly being single for a little while, like that's why she's just kind of automatically going into the situation and just my man, my man, my man. But Calabria is a gem, you know. She's over here, she's talking about how she runs a non-profit foster care system. She also and that comes up because we find out that Edmund actually was in foster care for the majority of his life. How he's kind of been from foster home to foster home. Like, he's had a pretty rough life. He also breaks down because he's expressing the fact that his fifth grade teacher, you know, saved his life and everything else like that. Like, there's a lot of things that he has like kind of working against him, aside from him and his tendencies sometimes. Like, when you actually hear his stories, when you actually are hearing his story, like, it is quite beautiful, and it is really wonderful that he's been able to pick himself up and really like push through, get his master, get his education on, make something of himself. Like, it's actually really inspiring, you know. And I think all that is wonderful, but I also think that there might also be some areas where some guidance would have been necessary. As he is like breaking down, crying and talking about, like, you know, this hard time for him, Calabria is just being so wonderful and so gracious, and she's giving him a space to just be himself, to let his tears flow and let him know that it's a safe space between both of them. So, you know, he's really appreciative of that. So he's pretty much just on the moon with Calabria. Now we get into Joe and Madison. Joe and Madison, once again, weird editing. She's already in pajamas. It's giving, we've known each other, so we're clearly a couple of days into the process so far. He's asking her about like her go-to date, and her go-to date for whatever reason is to go to karaoke and 7-Eleven. Why is 7-Eleven on the menu? Why is that even an option? I'm confused. Now, you can get some karaoke off. I am a karaoke girly myself, okay? But you can get that off for a little while. But 7-Eleven, why are we stopping for Flamin' Hot Cheetos? Like, what's going on? But that's what she wants. That's what she wants. Then Allie and Anton get engaged. We get this montage of their whole time together or whatever. And I'm just like, you see, this is what I'm talking about. The editing that is so freaking weird. So these people already did XYZ or whatever. Next, we get back over with Megan. Megan is over here with Jordan, and Jordan is, you know, he gets his pictures of his son, and he's like gushing over his son. He's like, oh, he's so beautiful, he's so this. So he's showing all the pod guys, and then he's telling Megan about his son and how excited he is about fatherhood and everything else like that. Like, it's really beautiful. He basically is just saying that, you know, he hasn't been able to get Megan off of his mind, because before he was pretty much getting ready to dismiss her because he acknowledged like, hey, we just might not be compatible. But he's giving it another shot because she is still on his mind. So they're talking, but now she has reservations, and she's also just like, you know, are we compatible? This whole triangle between Jordan, Megan, and Mike, it is a very exhausting process over the next couple of episodes. It's her going back and forth between the both of them because she doesn't think or trust that Jordan is going to be like up to par, or is going to be able to really, like, you know, she's just fearful if he's going to be able to handle like her lifestyle or whatever. However, as Jordan is talking about, like, you know, his son, and then they also talk about the fact that he has a vasectomy, and she's just like, you know, that's probably gonna affect like if he's gonna be able to have kids in the future and whatnot. But as he's talking about Luca, like she starts to also develop, like to me, like a little bit of an attachment to Luca, and I'm just like, but that's not your child, and I don't want you to just pick this person because you're so like overly invested into like his child and whatnot. Like his child still has a mother at the end of the day. In the pod situation with Megan, he reveals that, you know, his son has type 1 diabetes. Megan also reveals that her father had type 1 diabetes as well. Unfortunately, he passed away, not from that directly, but just like indirectly. They're bonding over that. When you see Megan interact with Jordan, like you could just see like her walls kind of like, she's not as like stoic or whatever, like her walls just kind of come down. But it's very easy to do that with somebody like Jordan. Like he's very charismatic. Like I like his scenes when he comes on Meg is just like concerned as to if they are aligned with one another, and then she goes back into her date with Mike. I just do not like Mike whatsoever. He reveals to her that he's 37. He's basically in there talking about his apartment or his place that has a sauna and a hot tub, and I'm just like, what does that have to do with you as a person, sir? So to me, I'm just like, this man is just here to show, I don't know, like it just gets very disingenuous to me. I don't really like Mike, so I don't really want to talk about him too much, but like I just think that he very much so is here to more so for egotistical reasons, more so just like, you know, I beat out all these guys, like I'm here for the glitz and glam. Like it just doesn't give genuine to me. He wants to build an empire, and he also just thinks that Megan having her own thing as well, like that would only add to the empire. So that's where they're at. I don't like Mike at all, so that's where we're at. We see Megan as she goes on her last date with Blake. These two are bonding over the fact that they lost their fathers. Blake is revealing that he had a pretty contentious relationship with his father before he passed, and you know, he just harbored a lot of resentment, and how he just kind of regrets having that much resentment towards his father. So they're talking about that, and she feels the same way about her father. I like the two of them. I feel like, you know, Mike is too pretentious. I think Jordan might be just a bit too, I like Jordan or whatever, but I think that for her, like she might just be thinking that he might be a little bit too below. But I feel like Blake is the perfect kind of middle ground for her. So that's where she is at right now, and I think that she likes him the best. Ali and Anton are getting ready to meet each other. Anton is in the back room, sitting up here with these glasses, fidgeting with them, putting them in the back of his head. I'm like, sir, you wear glasses. Put the glasses on your face. You put it up here for what purpose? Like, you cannot see what is going on. And so now, it was so funny. They do the whole reveal or whatever, and all you see is Anton. Anton, please, stop squinting. Put the glasses down. Like, just put the glasses down. Just put the glasses down. It doesn't have to hurt. You don't gotta hurt yourself, baby. It's okay. Episode 2. Now we see the meetup between Ali and Anton. Ultimately, these people seem happy with each other. I think that their kiss is weird, but you know, that's just me and my preference. Anyway, these two are together. It was really weird. Ali was all the way on the other side. And, you know, usually like the person is in the back just waiting for the last person to get over to their side of the thing so they could do the whole like, you know, miss you, love you, mwah type of situation. This man just left Ali just sitting back there, and he went straight to that champagne bottle. I was just like, oh. So now we get back to the pods. In the pods now, we have Madison and Joe. Madison and Joe are talking, and Joe was trying to follow up with her about, you know, hey, let's circle back to that conversation that we had about cats. Because he wanted to know for sure if the cats are sleeping in the bed with her or whatever, like if there's cat hair all over her place. And she's just like, you're gonna have to learn how to love the cat. Joe, right here, we were locked in, okay? Because that is a pertinent question. I need to know these type of things, okay? You are not about to sit down here and have your animal all up in the bed with us and, you know, shedding all over the no. So I very much so was on, we were right here with Joe. Then, you know, in natural man fashion, you continue to let them speak, and then they just say things that just take them off the edge, just kick them off the ledge, you know? this man is pretty much revealing, hey, my lease is going to be expiring in July. I don't know when this is being filmed, but if you're saying it with just so much tenacity, like you're not saying like a year from now, a year, 2 years from now, you're saying it like, you know, it expires in July. That means that you pretty much came on the show with the intention of looking for a new place to reside. Are you in fact a hobosexual on this platform? Instead of looking for a house, instead of looking for a home, this man came on Love is Blind to find lodging. We have I am tired. I am very tired. Love is Blind. I'm very tired. So now she's just like, yeah, well, you know, that would be okay. Like, I would want to live with my husband, etc., etc. So pretty much because she has a condo, he's just like, all right, I got somewhere to move in. So then she reveals to him about her eyesight and how her vision is pretty much going to be like deteriorating over time and whatnot. And his whole demeanor just kind of like changed. And obviously it would change for anybody because you just were an asshole, you know, basically plotting on that lady's home. So he's just like, you know, like, is it reversible? Just, I think that he did the best he could in the situation, but ultimately I still think that he's here for nonsense because that reaction it didn't give, and the conversation leading up to it, it very much so gave, yo, I have a situation and you look like somebody who's going to be able to bail me out of my situation, and I'm happy about that. That's what it's giving to me. So I officially am off of Joe. I wasn't really too much here for him in the first place because he couldn't really like follow up and give much leadership in terms of that like pretend date that they were having, but you know, whatever, I digress. Joe, we just need to figure out what's going on with his dwelling situation. Now we get introduced to this new character, Nick. I don't like Nick whatsoever. Nick comes off as very like, it gives manipulative. Like, to me, he's just giving like a very manipulative energy. So I'm not really too sure about him in the first place. So that's one. Number two, I would just keep it a bean and just keep it honest. You know, I think that this man is gay. I'm sorry, but I just don't think that this is actually a straight man that is in this pod with this lady. He is bonding with a woman named Kate, and Kate, she's a 31-year-old dietitian. She's talking about herself, and she actually reveals that she was engaged. She was dating somebody for 8 years. She was engaged, and then when her mom passed away, this guy was cheating on her within 3 months. I'm like, that is disgusting. He's saying all the things. He's like how their connection has been easy, their connection has been constant. And basically he's over here saying that, you know, she could be the one. And I'm just like, I don't trust you. I don't trust what you're saying to this lady. Get away from her. So then we get another scene with him, and he is on a plot date with a woman named Annie. Annie is, I believe she's 29 and she's a hairdresser. 29 is a stretch. She does not look 29 to me. But anyway, 29 and she's a hairdresser. So, these two are over here talking, and Annie, to me, she just kind of gives somebody who is more so in this experiment just to get married. Like, the glitz and glam part of getting married, not the actual work that goes into getting married. You know, she's just like, I'm getting engaged in a week, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, nothing really substantive is coming out of Annie to me. I'm just like, this lady is here, she's definitely not trying to put down roots nowhere. She ends up like knocking over her water, and now these two are in this very like awkward joke about, you know, wet carpets, ha ha ha. And I'm just like, you know, he's like how he has that effect on women. I'm just like okay, Nick. So he's over here just talking about wet carpets. They're making a bunch of sexual jokes. All right, cool, no problem. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. And it seems as though Annie is very like sexual. She's just like, you know, you touch my hand, sexy. You brush my hair, sexy. You walk, sexy. You breathe, sexy. Like, everything is just sexual to Annie. So I'm just like, that's all that I really have gathered from this young lady. Annie also has another connection with a man named Brendan. Brendan She says that Brendan is her number one. That's who she wants to be with. Brendan is entertaining her conversations, but he's not really like so forthcoming in terms of like his feelings for her. Well, letting her know, like he lets us, the audience, know, but he doesn't really let like her know for sure. And I'm just like, you probably need to let her know because you about to get blown out the water by... Okay. Brendan is over here talking about childhood. He says that he felt very secure and very loved in his childhood, and he looks forward to basically passing that on to his children going forward. To me, he seems real calm, real sweet, real chill. I like Brendan so far. So now we get this outrageous scene with Edmund. Edmund is down there on the floor making out with the floor. I've never seen no shit like this in my life. Why are you down there making out with the floor? Mind you, this is the men's quarter. These men is out here walking around with their shoes on, boots on the ground, sneakers on the ground, walked all over the city and just bringing that same shoe all over in the pod square. And the man is down there kissing ferociously, making out with the floor. You know, Brendan was over here trying to enjoy his lunch, had to turn around and be like, yo man, are you okay? Edmund turned around talking about I just needed to kiss on something. It felt good to kiss on something. The floor? The floor is crazy. The floor is crazy. He says he hasn't kissed on something in so long. I'm sure. But even in such desperate times, I have never seen that. You know, I have never seen that in my life. So I am very concerned. And now I can only think about Calabria. Those lips that have been on the floor, he is intending to put those same lips on Calabria. And I think he also said like, oh, like, you know, it's been in worse places or whatever. Why? Why are we testing our immune system like this? And that's what Brendan was saying. He was like, how his immune system go hard. I'm just like, I don't even want to know how hard it goes. Why are you placing your lips and your follicles in places where it just should not be? Like, this is just so much pause. Calabria and Edmund, they go into the pods and they have this conversation about her being an alpha woman, and she's saying that she's an alpha woman, and he says that he is an alpha man, like he's not an alpha man, but he'll lead if he has to. At that point in time, Calabria, my dear, that is when you leave the pod. I think that response, it very much so gives like, I'm okay taking a passenger side in the relationship every now and then. If I have to, and if I am just so called to lead or whatever, then I'll take the role. Like, there's a difference between letting somebody lead within the field of their expertise and a difference between a man who's just like allowing that to happen just because. And it's giving, I'm just gonna let that happen just because. And I'm just like, that would give me pause. And Calabria, you need to leave the pod. Calabria moves back to the women's quarter, and she's just in the women's quarter just going on and on and on about how wonderful Edmund is. And the way that these women are sitting down there looking at Calabria just like, girl, blink if you blink if you need help. Like, they just cannot believe that she's going on and on and on about Edmund like this. She does ask him a really good question. She the next time that they have their date, she's asking him, you know, like, how did you make peace with your mother, like your biological parent, since he was, you know, bouncing from home to home? And his response was really gracious again, just like, you know, that's my mom, and I know that she loves me, and I know that she's always going to be there, and I don't want my mom to miss out on my important moments and whatnot. And I think that was really beautiful and really mature. So I'm just like, oh, kudos to Edmund. And at this point in time, this is when she also reveals that her relationship with her father is not very good. Like, he's been an absent father, and she doesn't really know like if he loves her or like anything, because like he abandoned her. And I can never really understand those type of tropes. Like, I can never understand a man who would just like abandon his child. Like, for you to abandon a person that comes from you, your other half, like part of your DNA is just walking around in the world, and you just abandon it. Like, I just think that it's so crazy. She's basically saying like, you know, she doesn't always want to be tough, and that's what I was feeling off of her. I'm just like, all this hyper independence or whatever, like, it just feels like you taught yourself to be so tough because there's nobody there. And he basically is reassuring her like, you know, you don't have to be tough around me, like you could be soft over here. And beautiful things, all things that everybody wants to hear, but I just don't know if I would trust Edmund with that level of responsibility. As somebody who is seeing what's going on, I just wouldn't trust Edmund with that level of responsibility and care for me. Sparkle Megan is out here on these pod dates. So she gets on a date with Jordan. It's a pretty playful date. Cool. She goes on a date with Mike. Mike is just still throwing his wealth around. Cool. At this, I really don't like talking about Sparkle Megan in this triangle because it's just a lot of people. And then Blake is there and she's talking, and basically like with Blake, she's over here telling him about like, you know, they're having a conversation about the cost of weddings and whatnot. And like Megan was saying how she had a friend who spent like $400,000 on her wedding venue, and then she's inviting Blake. I'm just like, girl, you don't know Blake from a hole in the wall. He could be a serial killer. He can go blow up the whole freaking like wedding. What are you talking about? You don't know him. But, you know, that's where we're at right now. And that's what Sparkle Megan is trying to do. So right now it seems as if Blake is really her number one. But Blake is actually more so falling for Anna, our New York queen, okay? So these two are going on a really cute camp date. I have never seen Love is Blind transform a pod into an entire camp outside doorsy woodsy scene. It was very pretty. I was like, all right, Love is Blind, this is nice. You know, they had like the log looking pillows or whatever. Like it was they had trees in the background, like the s'mores. It was really cute. So I was just like, oh, you really like this girl. So, you know, Sparkle Megan think that she got a good thing going on with Blake, and Blake is just like, actually, I'm really over here trying to push up on Anna. So these two are in a good situation. She's very charismatic. You know, they're making jokes. They try to do like mating calls or whatever. Like they're just funny, bouncy, cool, like exuberant energy between the both of them. They're laughing. Like they're clearly enjoying each other. So then now we go on to Anna, and she's on a date with Patrick. And now at this point in time, I guess with a couple of dates, and they've been able to kind of put it together, put two and two together, that they are both Asian. Eventually on this date, he does reveal to her that he's actually Chinese and Cambodian, and then she also says that she is Chinese. And, you know, now they're really kind of bonding or connecting on the fact that, okay, like they both have found each other here, so like let's kind of explore that. And then, you know, eventually she's getting kind of like turned on about, you know, the possibility. She's also at this point saying that she misses home, or she's never been away from her parents for this long, and also her parents didn't know that she was coming over here on Love is Blind. I'm just like, why do y'all do that? Like I don't know. I could never do that. Like the way that me and my parents speak, like they would panic if they don't speak to me within. They would just panic, okay? I can't just go off for a month and then all of a sudden pop back up and be like, hey mom, I happen to have a fiance. Like, that's not how that works. I would be definitely on the back of milk cartons and everything else like that. Like, no. They are definitely going to send out a search party for me. So I don't know how people are just getting that off, just getting up and going to different states or different locations or whatever, and just being on Love is Blind. That is crazy. Patrick also goes on a date with Casey, and in this date, like, they're having a good conversation, but it seems as though, like, you know, he brings up the issue of, you know, being a child of immigrants and being from another country, and she's asked, you know, like, where are you from? And then he's like really hesitant, like he doesn't know if he should reveal that information or not. And I'm just like, sir, like, you can't like kind of sprinkle that into conversation and then all of a sudden like back out of the conversation. So it's either you're gonna go there and say what it is, or you're just not going to mention it at all. So eventually he reveals that I am Chinese and Cambodian, and she's really accepting. She actually reveals that, you know, a lot of her siblings pretty much have all dated interracially as well. So he feels a little bit more at ease, and he's just like, okay, I'd be accepted over here. Like, he's struggled his whole life with just being accepted or whatever, so the fact that it wouldn't be like brand new spanking territory, like it is a new territory for her because she's never dated an Asian man, but it's not going to be like uncommon for the rest of her family. So he feels a little bit more at ease about that. He's over here telling her, like, you know, people say that I'm cute for an Asian guy, and stereotypically, like, he's like, you know, people don't really find Asian guys attractive. I'm like, sir, that's probably not the best conversation to be having with somebody behind a wall. We don't know you from a hole in the wall. And on top of that, that sounds extremely low self-confidence, low everything. You know who Patrick reminds me of? He's like an Eeyore, you know? Woe is me, I'm Asian, I might be ugly, and nobody has ever said those things to you. Like, nobody feels that way.
I'm ugly and I'm proud! I am ugly and I'm proud! I'm ugly and I'm proud!
Is that what he calls it?
He has a great sense of self-hate for his Asianness. Like, he says that he's proud of his Asian heritage, but I'm really not sure, especially the way that he talks about himself. Like, your confidence is just shot down so low. Even if I do find you attractive, the way that you talk about yourself, the way that you're carrying yourself, the way that you're like, the energy that you're embodying right now, it very much so is not giving. That's a partner that I want to hitch myself to. And that's me as a viewer. But I'm just like, even as somebody who I don't know from a hole in the wall, like, this awkward kind of like person, nobody kind of wants that. You want to have somebody who feels good in their skin, somebody who's confident, somebody who is just like, all right, I got things on lock or whatever. Like, you want I don't know, you want your man to just really like embody that confidence. If you don't feel confident in yourself, if you don't feel confident by yourself, if you don't feel confident in what you have to offer, why would I feel confident being with you? Joe and Madison go on a date. These two get engaged. We get a montage of their time together. All right, them two are engaged. I already told you I am off of the homosexual. This man needs to find a home, and I don't like him. So then we go to Patrick and Anna, and Patrick is over here getting ready. We see a little cute montage of them, and they're getting ready to, well, not they, but Patrick seems like he's getting ready to go and ask Anna the big question. And all of a sudden he goes into the pod and he's just like, Anna is gone.
Christina's gone.
Anna's gone. I forgot to mention, on the date that she had went on with Blake, they were talking about ghosting. And she's like, you know, I've never really done that to somebody, like, especially if it's somebody that I'm really invested into, And then just to kind of like see how this played out, she didn't say bye to the crew, she didn't say goodbye to anybody, like, she just like up and just left. And I thought that was really crazy. So I'm just like, oh damn, Anna, like, I liked you, but now you're just over here leaving Patrick high and dry. Like, I did not like that whatsoever. So we open up episode 3 with the general understanding that Anna is gone. Anna has left the experiment. She did not say bye to anybody. That is that. So she had a date lined up with Blake, and he also was informed that Anna is no longer in the experience anymore. I feel bad for Patrick because I was looking forward to the both of these two getting together. So now I'm just like, well, now what? Mike and Sparkle Megan, they go on a date. Before this date, Mike is in the boys' quarters, basically sitting down there talking about how he still messes with his ex, and his ex has a boyfriend, but you know, he still be over there doing his ones and twos. And I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about, this underhanded, sleazy kind of dude, player, womanizer. I'm just like, this guy needs to go. So I'm just like, Meg, she's over here just, you know, really entertaining him because she just thinks that he's just going to be so beneficial to her empire and, you know, what they could build and lifestyle, etc., etc. But she's starting to have more hesitations when it comes to him. But Jordan is still smooth sailing, you know, like, it still feels pretty good for her. Like, she looks visibly happy. So I think she's ultimately just going to choose Jordan. On this date, he's in there talking about, like, you know, being healthy and stuff like that, and just like really emphasizing like how like hot she is, yada yada yada. But in this conversation, he low-key brings up nutrition and how that plays a role in pregnancy, and he brings up like Luca and his diabetes, and I'm just like, sir. And I was mad at Megan because I'm just like, girl, you're not gonna say nothing, you're not gonna somewhat, like, I don't know if it was just because she wanted to keep her connection private, but I'm just like, in that case, like, literally all you have to say is just like, you shouldn't be speaking on somebody else's child. Like, it's very easy to reprimand somebody from a neutral standpoint if that's just not what you're trying to entertain. But her being very, you know, mute and silent, meanwhile she in the pod crying over there with Jordan and you know, thinking about her dad and just being so empathetic or whatever. If the opportunity comes up for you to defend or protect this child, is that what you're going to do? Is that how you're going to react every single time? Like, I just don't like that. So I felt like that was very disingenuous, just a little bit. Like, you could say or you could speak your mind on defense of the child, like if this is the child that you care about. And in general, like, I just don't think that as a potential partner, if I'm hearing how you're speaking on other people's children, that doesn't really make me feel like, well, damn, let me go reproduce with you. Like, that just makes me feel like, ill, like, you're gross. He's going on a date with Jordan. Jordan is fine. Again, it's a very long, drawn out situation between her and Mike, and her trying to make a decision. So I really don't like talking about this particular circle. Just anyway, we're gonna make it through. So then she had a date lined up with Blake. Blake has now also left the experience. I'm just like, so did he and Anna decide to, you know, run off into the sunset, like what's going on. These two have left the experiment. First of all, when he was in the back and talking to producers, he was just like, well, you know, like there's pretty much nothing here for me or whatever, because he only really apparently wanted Anna. So I was just like, now Megan is gonna have to make a decision between Jordan and Mike. Now there's no more Blake in the equation. Hopefully she just goes for Jordan, because Mike is awful. Before Blake was leaving, Blake was over here talking about some, oh, like, you know, I need more time, I need this, I need that. Sir, we all watch Love is Blind. This show has been on for some time. You know this is an expedited process. Don't sign up for the process if you actually don't know what it entails, or if you don't know if you'll actually be able to make a decision. Like, you're very much so not serious. So that's all I have to say about Blake. Good riddance, goodbye. So now we are back in the pods. No, sorry. So now we're back over with Joe and Madison. They meet up. I don't think that Joe is into Madison whatsoever, because, and it kind of reminded me of the meetup with Chelsea and oh God, what is that boy's name? It reminded me of that, like, meetup, like kind of like expecting something, and it's not like he was disappointed or said that she wasn't attractive, but it just didn't give like, oh my God, like I'm so smitten, I'm so this, I'm so that. Like, I feel like he kept on saying like, I wasn't expecting all this, I wasn't expecting all this, or like, you know, I have to put the emotions with meeting the person. Nobody else is really making statements like that, and I feel like when people say things like that, that's like a really generic kind way of kind of being like, damn, I don't think that I'm really attracted to this person. That's what I'm getting from these people. So not these people, from just from Joe and Madison. You know, she's just like, you know, like, what do you think? Do you like me? Are you attracted to me? And he's, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, it's great. Really and truly, he doesn't care what she looks like, because he's over here really just trying to procure a home. But I just think that with everything that we know about Madison, this man just needs to be honest with this girl and just go about his business, because at this, like, quite frankly, he's about to waste your time. And so now we're back over in the Annie, Brendan, and Nick triangle situation. Brendan is over here still really trying to be more, like, I feel like Brendan is a softer kind of like romance kind of like guy. And Annie is very much so kind of ditzy, kind of very much so in the, like, I'm trying to stick and move, like basically, you know, I'm trying to get the things done. And I'm just like, okay, you don't need to be anywhere near Brendan. And I'm like, Brendan, get away from this girl. So now I'm just like anti-Annie. Like, let Annie go on ahead and be with Nick. Nick is over there still being sexual in his jokes and in his conversation with her, and that's what seems to get her going. So let the two of these people have each other. Brendan is over here coming with something of substance, and it doesn't seem like this lady is trying to do anything substantive, so he needs to just let that go. So now after Nick is over here getting all hot and bothered with Annie, he goes into his date with Kate, and he's basically telling Kate like he loves her. He feels like they have a connection based on substance, like he's really just trying to step up to the plate and be there with her. As he tells her that he loves her, she does not say it back, and he's just like, you know, that's okay, I'm gonna fight for your love, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, like, you don't have to just rush and say something, like trying to make it seem as if it's okay. Girl, it is not okay.
You in danger, girl.
She's not in love with him, but she said that she's falling for him. So that's the only reassurance that she could give to him at this current time. So then we get a scene now with Edmund and KB. KB is over there in the pods, like, confessing her love for this man. And I'm just like, oh dear. Like, just oh dear. And he proposes to her with a pretty please, will you marry me? I'm just like, okay. She says yes. So now these two are getting engaged, and they're about to go and do their reveal. I'm just like... So now we're back to Patrick. Patrick is over here trying to make fetch happen with Casey. Now that Anna is gone, he's just like, all right, let me see what I can figure out with this woman. And now that he's trying to figure out things with Casey, he's basically trying to encourage her to, you know, he's basically telling her to convince him that she really wants this and to be in the situation with him, yada, yada, yada. Now as we're in the men's quarters, we're hearing Jordan, and he's just kind of admitting, like, you know, like, I don't really have it for two people. I'm just like, whoa, are you coming here with financial issues? What is happening here? Pretty much she would be the breadwinner and stuff like that, and a conversation like that is happening in front of Mike. So Mike is overhearing all this and just taking all that information in and just, you know, trying to kind of use it against Meg when now they go on their date. Just like, you know, you like guys that are trouble, you like this, you like that, just making all types of assumptions. And it's just like, sir, this is why I'm saying, like, he is just not to be trusted. So even when it's something where, like, he's just not to be trusted, like, he's not even using the information or presenting it in a way that's just like, I care about you, so I'm letting you know XYZ. It's more so just like, well, you know, if you choose this, it's very manipulative. It's very much so like carrot dangling overhead, just like, you know, if you make this decision, you get this, and if you make this decision, you'll get that. Like, that's kind of the attitude that he's coming to her with. And then he's over here like not presenting the information properly, but then saying things just like, you know, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Clearly it's not. Like, you're trying to guilt trip this woman into giving you the outcome that you want. And I feel like, just as a man, like, would you even want somebody that you earned that way? Like, you guilt trip this person into being with you. Like, does that even make you feel good as a person? But he's in there stating his case and just basically trying to convince her that they could be a power couple. Lastly, we get down to the scene with KB and Edmund. We're gonna see how this goes. You know, she's basically making these affirmations already about just, you know, being willing to love him through whatever, and she's gonna be with this man, blah 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 blah. She's excited to meet him, he's excited to meet her. And we know for sure that he's going to be beyond thrilled about Calabria, but how she's going to react to Edmund, that is a whole nother story for another day. Alright, you guys, so that is it. That concludes this video for episodes 1, 2, and 3. Drop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts. I cannot wait to hear everything that you have to say about this season. Love is Brian, y'all are raggedy. That's the end of this video. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah!